Welcome to Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and this is the show where we talk to interesting people such as yourself, and we like to walk through the story of your life, learn more about you, and try to extract knowledge nuggets from your existence, and just try to, enhance all of our life together. Um, with that, I do have like a proper opening question. But in order to make that one make sense, can you just take a quick second to just kind of introduce yourself briefly? But most importantly, you need to tell us where you start your life, like where your early parts of your life happen.
Okay, so you want me to present myself by answering that question too?
Yeah, just like a little
Or
brief introduction so the people know who you is, and then, where you start your life.
all right. So this is Frime live on Behind the Suit. That suit
Yeah.
on here on Twitch. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. So just to let y'all in on a little background for where I come from, I'm originally from Quebec City, so that's where I started this whole rap shit. Because back then, when I was going to school, I had
Yo,
people older
actually,
than me.
we're gonna go into all of that in immense detail with the Quebec City, with what you're saying. Trust, we're gonna do this right now. So I have my
Right, right.
question. It's gonna be a little story, but then after you're gonna see it's gonna land. We're gonna start talking about it, and we are gonna go into everything you were about to tell us about, but with more detail than you were probably expecting. And it all starts out with my girlfriend, and she's washing the dishes one time, and she's playing that Black Eyed Peas song, that I got a feeling. Ooh.
Right.
She's vibing, she's dancing, she's washing the dishes. I'm looking at her, and I start thinking, when the fuck did this song become chores music? And I say that because run it back like 10 years, especially up where we're at. That's some middle of the night, everybody jumping in circles, super drunk, party banger anthem. Like it is the soundtrack of fun. 10 years goes by, all of a sudden it is the soundtrack of chores, of running, of dishes, cleaning up, all of this kind of stuff. Because, that's kind of what happens when you get a little bit on in life. You start listening to the stuff to go back to the nicer times during the more boring times. And it got me realizing about the evolution of people, right? Because, like, the song doesn't change. Songs just they're songs. They don't really do anything but stay songs. But people, we evolve so much that we create this context and this environment and around the music that its role in our lives and its purpose and position changes so drastically as we go on. And then I started thinking about the stories of artists and how, like, every single time you talk to a rapper or artist, you watch these interviews, it's always starting at the same place. This, like, adolescent age, even in school, where like life has happened and then you encounter hip hop or you encounter rap or you start to form your identity. If you think about how like music kind of plays a role, if you go back to being like super young, there's a lot of music and a lot of sounds and a lot of things happening that nobody ever really talks about before we have any real control over it. Like I can remember being 5, right? Like back in Montreal, basically we like my dad would have the gray boxes in the apartment, the amp, the tape deck, the preamp, the radio, all these things with the wires going out to all the speakers. He'd be busting his little
Right.
Led Zeppelin tapes. But at nighttime though, it's live from the clubs, MC Mario mixes and things like that. My mom, she had the Star 92.9 love songs and the musicals and all these different things. And so all of this kind of surrounded me and I was forced to listen to it, plus the radio, plus this. And all of these things influenced me long before I had any say at all in what I was ever going to listen to in my life. So with that, before we even get to the school part, I was hoping you could run it back to the earliest Frime you could remember being, especially in Quebec City, because while I'm from Montreal, it's definitely not Quebec City. It's got to be a different vibe. And if you could run us back and tell us a little bit about what it sounded like to be you growing up before you had any control over it, before the you start getting into hip hop part.
Okay. Well, just before we get into all of that, I just want to let you know I got into hip hop when I was like 12 years old. So if you want to go back, we're
Yo,
gonna go
even I'm
back.
saying like childhood shit, man, because nobody talks about the childhood, and it's always gems, bro. Like what your mom was bumping, what the stuff that was around you, that then leads to that 12-year-old hip hop, which I'd argue is a next chapter in the story. But the first chapter is definitely before you cared, before like when the stuff that's around you.
Well, as you said, when you start the journey of music, it really starts back to following what your parents are listening to. Because at that point, you're not really buying music when you're a child. You're just kind of just vibing to what your parents are vibing. until I was able to go and start buying some CDs and really start developing, seeing what I really like. So I passed through many musical genders, like genres, like even punk music. I was when I was young, for some reason I really like hardcore metal when it was screaming, because you're like 9 and you like to scream and you dissociate to that. And then it went more into the route of like the punk music and the Rancid and the No Use for a Name and like old school bands like that, and No FX and things like that, because um, slowly at that time, the skateboarding was kind of being introduced with the same type of world as the hip hop in terms of the lifestyle of partying, smoking, and just having fun. The rock star lifestyle, basically. So it kind of fusion into that, and then even dance music, because at some point you're young and you just want that boom 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 because you just like to move around, and then it came into that part where it was more like influence of people older than you, because you're like, okay, what are they listening to? And oh, I like that rhythm, and he said the head nodding, and then you start listening to Tupac and Biggie and all
So
that West
so like
Side
how do
shit.
you like find music? Because you got to keep in mind like a lot of this stuff is super obvious to you, but not super obvious to anyone that's not really from where you're at in life. And that's the thing is nobody's story. When I go through this, people never have the same answer. So it's like wildly like your story is mad yours. Like what kind of stuff were your parents into? Like what was some of the early shit that you would have heard?
It was a mix. Like there were a lot of music from the '70s, that my mom was into, the '80s, but it wasn't anything like particular. Like she listened to some Paula Abdul, like some uh, my stepdad listened to the Beatles, like even some Quebecois music, like all these little these beaux dommages and groups from Quebec that were a bit more like doing that type of '70s music. So it was always like music that nothing very smooth. I didn't grow up like the classical music and like very laid back music. It was always a bit groovy, a bit funky, a bit
Did they have
I don't
like
remember.
did they have like records or was it like the radio? Was like music like a big part of your household or was y'all like into other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of cassettes. At that point, it was more like cassettes, not really vinyls. So they had the cassette, the tape deck, until they made that switch, and you needed that little tape to put in the thing to put your CD, until they had the real CD in the car.
Oh
So
shit, I remember that. Um Okay, no, that's fair, man. So that's cool. So like you and how do you like start to find music on your own? Because even beyond the genres, what's really interesting is like being in Quebec City. Like, what is the norm? Are y'all like do you have like the radio
well,
station everybody bumps? Is it the music videos? Is it like how do y'all actually hear music?
yeah, well, I mean, back then it was really, you had to go to the record store like HMV or Archambault, and then you had to go, by letter and genre of music and select, and back then it was kind of a thing to kind of find the rarest hip hop CD you could ever find. You know what I mean? So when you went to HMV, it was always, oh shit, there's this thing that's been imported from New York, and there's only 3 copies, and it's way more expensive, but I want it, and then you'd go get these kind of really underground hip hop. Me, I was really into the underground hip hop in the beginning, because that's what was cool. It was like the mainstream was whack, and then it was all about underground real hip hop and real shit, and everything that was related to that. So that's why me, as I started straight with the lyricists and the type of beat makers that were already legends in the hip hop game. So like when you start listening to hip hop on some Dr. Dre, and then the first album I bought when I was 12 was Nas. It was written, and your first MC you listen to is Nas, and then and these types of production, it's already like bringing you into a headspace where you're like, oh shit, I got to discover more of this music, because these words play. when you hear Nas rhyme all these stories and all these rhyme schemes, it gets you more into the art, you know. And then you're like, oh, I like these rhyme plays, you know, and I like how he plays with words. Me, I was really more into the lyricism than the music in the beginning.
Right.
So I was really more like trying to, okay, is he good? Like, can he rhyme? Is there multi-syllables? Is there metaphors? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then if it was too basic, you know, and it was just like little everything rhymes with the same thing, and it's just no metaphors or nothing, I didn't fuck with it, you know. So that's why I was really more into all the lyricist lounge in the first underground mixtapes that were coming out. You had this lyricist lounge with Farron Monk and Mos Def and all these lyricists back then, you know, and the Dilated Peoples and they were Mobb Deep, and it was all like a lot of the New York started a lot with the New York shit, you know, because that's where I grew up. If you want to go back then and kind of bring it back and where my essence of New York is because from 1 to 5 I grew up in Connecticut, Greenwich.
Say
So
word.
yeah, so that's why when I came in Quebec at 5, I kind of already absorbed all the English that I needed to be a bit more advanced in my city. Because when you hear people speaking English from Quebec City, you kind of, you know, you spot them real quick, you know.
I'm not even gonna
So
lie. There was a part of me that was surprised at the level of bilingualism you bring to the table coming from Quebec City.
and appreciate that because it's not about it's really about practice. Because even back then in Quebec, I wasn't able to speak as much in English over there as when I moved to Montreal. But when I moved to Montreal, it's just like the practice. I was speaking more English every day, so then it just comes back to you and rap music. And because I was into lyricism, I was always into perfecting my vocabulary. So I was always trying to look up new words and what is this and trying to bring my rhymes to the next level, you know. So that's kind of where it all started for that question.
Did you like? It's kind of how this flows, man. We're just gonna keep going like this, and we just move through your life, bro. And then everything comes out. Everything anybody else would ask you, you're gonna answer, and I'm never gonna have to ask it properly. I promise. um, but basically, like, are you like when do you start like actually getting into music? Okay, this one's more cliche, but like from that point, you're 12, you're buying albums and shit. You're already into it. At some point, you say you met some older dudes who are like already into it, and that kind of transitions you into wanting to do it. Does that happen when you're 12, or does that come a little bit later on?
It came a little bit later on because that back then it was more like I was more like the observer. So I was like looking and seeing, okay, and then the older friends were talking, they got shows, and then you're like, where do you got shows? And oh, they're performing here and there. And then you kind of listen a little bit to their music. And then I just started writing in French actually in the beginning. I started rhyming in French. That's why the name Frime is written the way it is because it was Fred plus rhyme in French is that's how you write it and the name is Rime. So then I just
Ah,
1 year later after writing in French, I didn't feel related to it, didn't like it that much, and I started writing it in English because that's what I really felt because I was raised in Connecticut, close to New York. I was really feeling that vibe, and I was like trying to go that way since I could, and I was bilingual. But then I switched it up to English, writing more in English. But it began by like just listening to like the 36 Chambers and like spitting a verse from Inspect the Deck on and on, you know, and just spitting that verse from Inspect the Deck. And then, you know, having another outcast and then throw your hands in the egg yolk and wave them like it just don't care. And then trying to
yeah.
memorize their verses because they had complicated flows and, you know, so
I
it
relate
just
heavy
started
to all of
getting
that.
imitated it started by imitating the best until I was like, okay, let me start writing my own shit. But then I needed beats, right? So then the first things I was doing back then, I was using the end of the beginning of certain songs I loved, and then I would put it on a tape deck, and then I would just start it at the end of that, where the song would leave me like 30 seconds to spit, and then they left like 30 seconds of beat there, and then I would practice my part there, you know? And then I was like, okay, now I really need beats. And I had heard from this
That's right,
kid from
Willie. Pause tapes. It's always good when we get a pause. I don't know what you call them in French, but that's definitely that pause tape game.
exactly. So then I was like, fuck, I really need beats. And then I was in Future Shop back then, just shopping around. And then I was like, oh, I saw this thing called Hip Hop EJ. And
Say
Hip
a
Hop EJ
word.
was basically a CD with a bunch of drum loops and a bunch of melodies, already pre-recorded melodies. So what the funny thing is, a lot of people in Quebec kind of knew about it back then. It was kind of one of the first things you could produce with easily because you just had to like open the program and, oh, I like this drum loop, I like this melody, you
Yo,
know, and just put it together. Kind of a even more old school garage band that's even like
nah,
it was
bro, you
super.
gotta understand. It was so easy. My dad got that shit because my dad used to just be like he's the kind of guy that if he got the computer and then he would buy bundles of software, not because he cared about the software, but because he liked buying bundles of software. And in one of
Right,
these bundles, he got this beat making this VJ. I think it was the fourth one. I remember four. It might not be four, but I fucking sat there as a teenager and I was able to like make beats on this shit. You don't know what you're doing. It had in depth features, but without touching a single one of them, when I say in depth, I mean like you could go a little deep and change some shit around if you like wanted to fiddle, but like I didn't do any of that. You could just slide shit and it sounded good.
right, exactly. Everybody loved the same melody, so then it was funny because one of my friends I was rhyming with, I had a group with him in the beginning before I kind of switched in English, and that we did the beats on Hip Hop EJ, and he was living really far. I was living like an hour by bus, so because I was on the south side of some shit, and then we were practicing over the phone our songs for the upcoming shows because he knew certain promoters. He got hooked up with certain promoters and was able to book us because he was kind of organizing too, you know. So that's how I kind of slipped into the performing, doing shows in Quebec by one of my friends. But it was just so funny because, okay, let's start the beat in the back, and then we're there on the phone practicing.
Yo, you
A
were
little
basically doing Zoom call rap shits long before any of us ever thought about Zoom and the need for it.
right without the camera, but definitely the same type of shit.
That's wild.
So back then, the group I had with him, we called it qualité obscure, which means obscure quality. Because back then too, a lot of French rap was popular in Quebec, like I Am and all these groups, and they were all that le côté obscur de la force, and they were bringing all these things, you know, inside their music. So we called it qualité obscure for some reason. And we started doing little shows, man, doing our like 2, 3 songs we had done on Hip Hop EJ with our little verses. And we did those songs here and there in little places in Quebec, in colleges, and schools, in church basements and shit like that,
And
and
how
little
how old
parties.
were you when you started doing all this?
I would say about 15, 16.
So you're like 15,
Maybe
16 doing college
maybe
tours.
like
Well,
not really like college, but like that's where the shows were at, you know.
right.
So it wasn't really the school being there. It was more like
The
they
bars and
rented
shit around them, or
it. And I was so young, I had to stay like during the mic check, and I couldn't get back out from the bar because if they'd catch me, they card me, I couldn't even perform. I'm not even supposed to be in the bar, you know. So then I had just to sneak in and just stay, just stay in after the mic check, and I couldn't go out, you know, just trapped until the show was done.
man, that's serious.
That was the struggle, you know. So it was just funny because everybody, like I said, even you said you fuck with hip hop PJ, and it was just funny because you started to hear other people in Quebec that had hip hop PJ, so they chose the same melody, but with a different drum loop, or the same drum loop with a different melody, and then you're like, ah, shit, they got our shit, and then I started getting tired of it, and I was like, okay, now I need real beats, you know, so I hooked up with a guy that was producing on not FL Studio. It was called Fast Tracker Pro, and it looked like MS DOS, and he was just like all the programs now are horizontal, and it goes from left to right when you play a song. But for some reason that one was from up to down. It was like you were sequencing, and like you were seeing the whole sequence going down.
I see. It
It
was
was
so
really weird.
weird just to like think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Me, I didn't know nothing about it. I just came here like I like these couple beats, and then I started buying my beats for like $40 and then I made my real songs on my first beats. Buying off him. But as you get into the scene and you get into the whole thing over there, obviously you meet other people on the scene, and I started hanging with other rappers and other producers, and including one of my now good friend over 20 years. I call him Johnny Got Skills. Johnny Got Skills. He always had my back. He was producing back then, and he was giving me beats for free. And I had this other person that was called GP Matt, who was a part of a big collective in Quebec City. There were about 12 rappers. And he saw me perform once, like I was alone on the stage. He was like, this French kid, he's alone, no back vocals, no nothing. And he's just out there performing his songs in English. And he took me under his wing back then, around 16, 17, and started just giving me all the beats I wanted. So all the beats he did, okay, if I needed it for songs, he would let me do songs on it. And he had the little home studio, so he started to record me, and it was really like a basic setup. It was almost like a, a show mic, like a little mic for shows, and just performing, recording. I think it was on not Soundforge, but Sonic Foundry, or I forgot what it was called back then. Some other shit. Acid.
Right.
So I got really lucky because I did one little car. I was doing everything myself, and now I got under the wing of this guy, and he was more like I was 17. They were already like early 20s. All that it
I
was
mean,
called the ambassadors.
I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely some luck in that. Probably the English was helpful, but like you still did a whole lot already. I mean, at like 15, it's not like I'd be fucking writing songs proper and recording them on my own shits. And I mean, I dibbled and dabbled, but I never like I had the means to do these pause tapes with the shit in my room. Like I could have done that, and I chose not to. But you chose to do it, and it gave you advantages later on in life, kind of thing. So like I would say, yeah, there's luck, but you were definitely there and ready for the moment when it came, whereas many might not have been.
Right, for sure. I was ready to go, and that's why it was cool because it gave me this whole experience. I didn't have a lot of featuring at that moment, and it just opened up, to all these people around me that felt my music and felt I was good. So it's just like, okay, this is my crew now, and it was the Good Samaritans, and it was called the Ambassadors, and we're like 12. So I had people in Quebec, another part of the crew was in Montreal, another part was in Jonquière, and then when there were these shows, we all got together and performed these songs, a little bit like Wu Tang, but like everybody had their verse on different songs, and we just all performed together, as a collective. So
Yeah,
that
it's
was cool
fire.
too, because we already had the.
I gotta ask a
Um,
question, cause like it's gonna seem maybe a little ignorant, but what's the Quebec City hip hop scene like at that time? Like, is it big? Like, I don't know anything about the Quebec City hip hop scene. I know that stuff's bubbling in Quebec around. I'm assuming this is like the early 2000s, late 90s.
yeah, that was yeah, exactly around that time.
So like,
So let me tell you how it was. It was really small. First off, there wasn't a lot of people of color, so it was all mostly white rappers, in the beginning, and then came a lot of the other cultures slowly and slowly, but it was always a bit more a couple of years back than Montreal, in terms of, so the urban flavor was kind of slowly getting into Quebec while it was already dominating Montreal at that time. So it was
wait,
more like uh, I would say, a very, very small scene. So the people I knew that were more like, coming out of different places, not necessarily born in Quebec, but were now in Quebec, were already in the urban culture, and they were starting to organize a lot of things and trying to take advantage of something new, because back then it was just on TV, it was starting the hip hop. It was really slow, and that moment, I think, Sans Pression just came out and all of that. So it didn't really have an identity before. It was just like people trying to rap like French, like Europeans. So everybody was rapping with a French accent, even though that's not how they spoke. So it
That's
wasn't really
interesting.
it wasn't really a mature scene, I would say. It was just like a bit more a scene of a bunch of people trying to imitate what they like. And back then it was a lot of French rap, because that's what was sold in the stores. It was the French rap, and the US rap was a bit rarer until, that's why at first, okay, there's the Wu Tangs, there's this, there's the Raekwon, but like you were looking for the little mixtape that nobody knew from the Killer Bees, and try to see, Killer Priest and Rascas and all these other ones, and Planet Asia, and discovering all these other flavors. So it was kind of digging in the crates, but in the CDs in the city, because we didn't have access to all the same music as everybody
So is
as
it
everybody.
like France predominantly would be like the main stuff that gets sold? Or?
In the beginning, it was more of that. It was less of the English music a little bit.
That's wild to think about. Like, I guess you don't. I mean, coming from Montreal, I mean, English is available. It's just kind of HMV has all the English music. I vividly remember that, but I couldn't imagine walking in and it's just all French music, and then like the English stuff's just kind of in a corner, and you gotta hope. That's
Well, it was mixed in there, but back then they didn't have that much record labels in hip hop either, because it was like No Limit, and there was Aftermath, and in
mm,
New York there was a couple ones, so there wasn't that much to look for either. Like everybody was kind of pushing their music in Canada for the first time too. At that time, they weren't really like out there like that.
no, that makes a lot of sense, and it's interesting to think that it has such a France influence at first, because like I guess you just don't. When I'm young, everybody just kind of made fun of all Quebec music. I don't know if it's because like in the '90s it was cool to make fun of French people, but that's just kind of like what I remember. And so I didn't really give any of the Quebec music a chance till I'm like well into my adult life. And it's just nifty to think how like France inspired it has to be in order to before Quebec could become like sustainable enough to have its own distinct identity from France. Kind of like what
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Anglophone scene did with New York.
Well, I think it's because it wasn't even cool. It wasn't even like, you would just sound weird to rap in Quebec, because it's just not elegant. It wasn't elegant. Like, not a it's not a beautiful language that much to speak in Quebecois. It's a bit, no offense. I'm Quebecois pur laine. Both of my parents are from Quebec. I was born in Quebec City, but I mean, come on, guys. Like if you've been here for years, you don't need to speak like you're on there on the farm and raising cows. You know what I mean? Like there's the ways to speak to make us look normal. And sometimes it's kind of like Americans too. There's this redneck Americans that always make the people look a bit dumber than they are. So it's just I don't know if it had an impact on me being a French white kid out of Quebec City or anything, but it was kind of hard to stand out back then. In terms of like I didn't have as much swag either. In terms I didn't know nothing about swag. I didn't care about swag, and that's kind of what sells in the hip hop game. So I'm at a show with a regular shirt or whatever and not care about nothing. I wouldn't even know what a barbershop is, or why, wear shades or whatever. You know what I mean? I had no beard. It just looked weird. And back then, you just like rock wear and just anything that was really baggy. So it was like really slim and baggy. It looked really weird.
Nah, I hear that. I appreciate all of this. This is the good shit. Like, I mean, for you, it might be like whatnot, but I'm all about context, right? And so the more you share stuff like this, it gives me stuff to think about. Cause I'm gonna run into people from Quebec City in the future. I don't know enough about it. So like you're kind of giving a window to the people here about like what a parallel existence in the very same place we all live is. You know?
Right. I was just 2 hours away at the end of the day, but Montreal just always been more urban. That's why eventually I had to move there because I was kind of stopped. And, already being bilingual, you could have a better job in Montreal because you're bilingual and there's bilingual jobs. So in Quebec is just mostly 90% predominantly French job. You don't really need to speak that much in Quebec in English unless you're in tourism or other representative roles that require you to speak English. But it's not a place that people even try to speak English that much. They don't even try. So it's kind of unfortunate, but at least in Montreal, it's like a very 50-50. So it's cool. It
Yeah.
allows you to be, that's why it brings more of that urban side because everybody's comfortable in Montreal, even Latin people or other cultures. There's enough people here to speak in their language. It's just everybody's here. It's a whole basket. Everybody, all the ethnicities are here. And Quebec is not as multicultural.
That's wild. So like, do you put out like your album before you move to Montreal, or are you dropping your projects and stuff before you come down to Montreal?
No, I released the first album when I was in the collective. It was around, like I said, 2004. I have it here, and I think it's one of the. It might sound funny, but it's one of the times I think I made the most money with rap music back then because I made these over here. I don't know if you guys can see properly. Should I
Bring it a
put it
little
close?
closer. Yeah, you can see that. It's like,
So, so I actually back then I went to the printer and I made 300 of these by hand, and I was folding them and putting it here and removing the shit and putting it in the back and then pressing the top of the CDs. So I made 300 of those. Always had them in my backpack, and I managed to sell 300 for $10 and made $3,000. And it cost me $3 a CD. So it was a good profit back then for me when I started. And yeah, it was cool because I had done everything myself, and it showed that basically you can make money independently, a little bit with your music
and
besides the show. And it kind of shows you that if you're moving in shows and you don't have your CDs, you're kind of just wasting your time. Why are you performing if you're not going to sell your CDs at the end of the show? 'Cause that's the whole reason you're trying to, you know.
you know, like when you say it like that, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. But the answer to your question is because, yo, when you start, it's drugs to perform. Like performing is drugs to a lot of people, and like whether it's because you get girls or whether it's just because of whatever. But I don't know, man. You get addicted to it. Like I'm not gonna lie. If it goes long enough, I'll be like, I'll go do some dumb shit and take like I'll go look for something. You know, like you crave it, like an experience. But from a business standpoint, you're absolutely correct. And I think more and more artists need to hear that shit because, like, doing drugs just to do drugs is maybe not the best move. You gotta find a way to make money on doing drugs.
Right, exactly. It's all, it depends on what age you really start and if business is a part of your mentality at that time. But now it's just obvious to me, but it wasn't obvious to me back then. It was that basically when I made those CDs, I wasn't really thinking about the money. It was just the way to get your music heard is to print your own shit and start trying to to sell it. So,
Mm.
and I kind of came in at a point where I was kind of at a turning phase of the music too, because the CDs were kind of disappearing, and then even the music on TV was disappearing, and then the free music came along, and it was like I kind of got stuck in that whirlwind uh, of bad luck in terms of I had the good luck of being signed on one of the first Quebec labels that's very big right now. It's one of the biggest labels. They don't have the same name, but back then it used to be called Abused Music. And I made an album with Universal Canada in 2006. But we made the whole album was half French, half English. It was called Classic. I had a group called Classic, and it was called the redefinition of hip hop. So it was just all a bunch of timeless classic hip hops, and he was rapping in French, and the end of his sentence, I was rhyming the end of his sentence with the beginning of mine, and it was making sense and rhyming, and it was like we sold 1,500 albums like all around stores, which was a small amount back then on a record label. But
I mean,
the,
I don't even know that many people that I've talked to that can say that they sold 1,500 units in the stores at any point.
right. Well, I mean, back then it was just like, because what happens is it was kind of, if your shit don't sell enough in the record stores, then they don't want to order it back. They don't get a good impression, and then the price of your CD starts slowly rising in the store. So then it sells less because it's less attractive, right, price wise too. So you really, if you're gonna make a first impression, you really gotta make sure to make some sales. So, and we got kind of fucked too, because not because of anything else than a lack of experience, because the guy that was running the label back then probably didn't know either. But if we would have known, we would have made the album differently. But in Quebec, to get all the grants and everything, you need your album to be 70% French and 30% English. And our album was 50-50. So we got a stick in our wheel because we couldn't apply for any grants and wasn't eligible for any grants during the moment that I needed it the most to push the album. So that kind of sucked, because then I had to like get into the whole. I had one of my friends back then that it was like, okay, bro, I just studied in film and in this. So if you want, let's buy a camera together and I'll make you guys just music videos. So I was like, okay. So back then, a mini DV camera, which used tiny little tapes, was $3,500. So I split half with him as an investment, because I was like, at least I'm gonna be able to make my own music videos, and he'll be there to film, right? So I was kind of forced into doing my own music videos, because we didn't have the grant, and we didn't know necessarily a lot of people doing videos back then. So we started with him, and we filmed like a couple videos, and then we're waiting on the editing, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting on the editing, and I'm not getting any finished product. And I'm like, whoa, didn't you come out of the fucking films of school, and you told me you're gonna film and edit that shit, like, where's the videos? So basically the guy knew everything, how to film, how to make everything come out super nice on camera. But when it came to editing music videos, they don't teach that in video school. They teach film. So music videos are a completely different game when you edit music videos. You know what I mean? It's not just one scene and you cut at the scene and it's another scene. It's a bunch of scenes that have to be layered together and make sense, and cut each other really fast. So he came in front of it, and basically he started editing, and he's like, bro, I don't know where to go with all of this. So he installed a cracked version of Avid Media Composer back then, which was one of the most professional video editing programs you could ever have. They used it in TV and everywhere, but it was also very complicated. But that's the one he learned in the school. So he was there next to me to the footage, basically teaching me how to edit video in this program that I never used in my life. So I edited it. But me, because I already started producing music and I was making music, it was like chopping audio a little bit. So I kind of got used to it, and I knew that, okay, if I put an image there, it has to cut on the snare, it has to cut on the kick to make sense. So by the time I made the second, no, the third video, we were like, okay, this one is good, let's send it to Much Music. So we sent it to Much Music, and back then you had to go and transfer it into a specific format of another cassette to send it to Much Music, and
Right.
send it by post. And they had a committee, and then the committee watched the video and they decided if they added it to the programmation. So I get the call, and then they say, "Oh, your video got into much music." So I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I didn't hire no professional crew. It was my own camera. I edited. It was my third video I edited in my life. But
That's
because
wild.
the guy knew what he was filming, it came out super crisp on the when you watched it on Much Music. You know what I mean? So I was really happy. I was like, okay, I think I could also edit videos. So then that's why I was like, okay, all I need is somebody to just film. So then basically the career developed into like my after that into my solo path, and I just had a bit of time solo and like refining where I was going and was working on my music. Like I'm skipping some stuff, but it's like not all important anyways. But
That's fair.
and then I left the label and I started my own independent label called Out of the Dark. I discovered how to distribute my music myself using CD Baby and getting to all this. When you're starting using MySpace and you code your MySpace page to make it look good in the back, and you get into all of that shit, which is kind of getting into marketing, because the whole music shit is all marketing. At the end of the day, you're just doing music and you want to sell it, so you're doing the flyers, the cover, the music videos to market it. So without knowing it, I was already in marketing.
Which is
Right.
kind of handy in this day and age.
Yeah. And back then, I all my beats I produced directly on the MPC, because one of my friends always lent me his MPC until I bought one, and everything was just on big discs and floppies, and I had my vinyl, and it was all like DJ Premier, Alchemist, like Pete Rock. These were like all the real hip hop producers. You know what I mean? So, it was all the art of going to the record stores and digging in the crates, and going to find those dusty records, and fucking shadowy places, and be like, oh, I found this $3 record. Let me bring it home and listen to it, and then to find a little piece that's fucking amazing, and then starting to chop it up on a screen that's fucking this big on the MPC and assign it to your pad. So it's the whole art that everybody in hip hop should go through, and the reason why is because of all that music that you buy and buy and buy, all those vinyls of different genre of music, from Latin jazz to rock to fucking everything in the 70s. It inspires you so much that you don't notice it, but that's where you get all the soul too, because you're sampling all that fucking soulful music from the 70s to do your hip hop, and you're listening to all of that. So it's kind of absorbing all the roots of music, because the music was so organic back then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
It
was just
wasn't like
thinking about it. Like a bunch of people have definitely mentioned to me this process because like I never got into the production side. Fuck, up until 2016, I can say okay, between high school and 2016, I don't give a fuck about an album. There's like I probably listened to 10 albums in full in that whole period from like '05 to like 2016. Then I started doing album reviews because I felt I was really shitty understanding hip hop, and that forced me to listen to so much shit outside of my comfort zone that I kind of really appreciate what you're saying. But then I started thinking about it when you're looking at dusty ass fucking disc vinyls in the back of a store, you have no idea what the fuck it is. Yo, producers must hear a bunch of wild shit, good, bad, goofy, all of it, like to a realm where like I don't think I
well,
really give a credit to how much music they listen to in volume.
yeah, and it's also you're listening to the music, asking yourself, what type of drug did they take before they recorded this? Because this shit is like they'll never reproduce anything like this again, and they couldn't because they recorded on fucking on tapes in the studio, and then it costs a fortune to cut a tape for the song. So that's what it was. So if the shit was weird, some part they just kept it there. So yeah, man, for sure you listen to a lot of basically it makes you realize how music can make you feel free, because it's just all these people on these tracks and these funk and James Brown, they just feel so free on the track, and they express themselves in so many different ways that you're like, wow, it just makes you love music more and more. Because you know, as somebody that was always a bit more reserved, and music was kind of my Superman suit in terms of like, outside of that, I was somebody very calm, not really doing too much crazy shit, and then when I had my thing, it's like, okay, boom, I'm Frime, and then that's when I get out my shell, and then people are like, fuck, that's you. And then nobody, that's every time people hear my music, that's you. Like that's the first. Nobody ever said, oh, that's good music. You always have to verify the fact. That's you. That sounds like a black person. Okay, but why? Why? Because my voice is deep. I gotta sound like But everybody, but no, that ain't you, man. That's the black rapper. And then I was like, well, why does it have to? But it's because people looked at my face and saw the man in a suit sometimes, because I was working in sales, and they're like, the guy in the suit is fucking rapping too. Like, what the fuck is this?
That's hilarious because my whole rap shtick is to rap in a suit. Every single show I've ever done, and I basically go through the guy in a suit rapping thing all the time, so I can highly appreciate where you're coming from in a deeply personal way.
So that's always basically the feedback I got from my music. Everybody always had a good feeling with my music, even before it was actually good to me. When I listen back, I'm like, people like that shit before. That shit was whack. I was making whack music and people were vibing to it. And now you make good and better music, and then there's less people vibing to it. So you're like, there's a thin line in terms of how people want it to be professional. It's like sometimes they don't want it to be too professional because they feel they just relate more to it or some shit, and then it's just too professional. I don't know, man.
No, that is one of the most insightful things you've ever said, or not that you've ever said. That somebody said to me recently that like hit like deep in some shit I've been thinking about a lot lately. Right, like I did a whole experiment this year where I basically mixed and mastered my own shit. Now, allow me to be clear. I am not an engineer. And when I say master it, I mean I didn't master it. I just submitted it to Spotify. I wanted to see what would happen. And people started telling me they liked it better than shit I spent money on to get done nice. And I was like, dude, that sits weird. It sits weird. And I listened to it and it's the vocals sound like ass to me, but people are telling me they like it. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand. And like people be vibing and shit and not be confused because my old ass is all like, but I'm supposed to get better. But then you start questioning like, yo, but like what does better mean? And where's that fine line? Because like you said, it's all marketing, right? Like, so it's almost like people have to believe that what you produce is at the level of professionalism that meets their expectation of you in a sense.
And what you're saying is in terms of like, you'd be surprised how many people record on the phone nowadays, and it sounds better than somebody that goes in $25,000 studio with an engineer that doesn't know what he's doing. Because a lot of people in the game buy $1,000 of equipment, and you go in the studio, look up and fly, you record the shit, and then they're like, oh, no, I can't, don't make it listen to nobody now because I gotta mix it, you know? And then you hear it and you can't even make it listen to nobody because it sounds so terrible, and you recorded in the $25,000 studio. And it's like, then you realize it's just the level of quality of engineers. There's engineers that while you're recording, they're tweaking the thing a bit, but at least you have a version that's listenable when you get back home, you know? And they're not the ones with a $25,000 studio. So it's weird.
All of it is. But yo, on that phone point, apparently phones apply an EQ mix that boosts vocals almost like to perfection. Is it custom? No. But like if you're talking raw vocals versus a phone mix, your phone may be a better mix. Just like come off sounding better just on like the cuz I started hearing shit like when I would record videos for a TikTok or whatever, and I might do a little 1-2 rap on my phone here. And I started comparing the actual sound of the quality of the vocals on my, because I have a Galaxy S10, pretty solid, whatever, not the best, but whatever. And it was like, yo, this like kind of comes off nicer than like this mic, where you got to put effort in after the fact. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I assume that the mic with the right level of effort produces a superior product down the line. But unless you're getting the right series of things, like the right engineer, the right everything, you're kind of better off
Exactly.
sometimes with the lower end tech these days.
Yeah, because sometimes the thing will be so good that if the guy can't adjust it properly, it'll make you uh, it'll sound like it's also very bad because it's too accentuated. You know, like if like the take was great, but if they don't apply nothing to it, it just sounds very dry and very bad. So and I went to studios too. They got like different mics and they pretend they know what they're doing with all these mics, and then they make you test like 3, 4 mics. Okay, and then they're like, yeah, this mic. So basically, use a mic different than everybody else on the song, and then they can't even, you can't hear yourself on the song. And then you're like, why did you make me change this whole fucking mic shit? Can't even hear myself on the fucking song. Raise the fucking volume up or something. You're like, why was this microphone recommendation on the table?
Ah, I love it. I mean, this is some useful stuff to me. Like, I don't know that people know anything. I don't know how many people ever walk in and be like, bro, I had these awkward recording sessions where bad things turned out and it wasn't flawless.
Yeah, man. Well, now it's because the producers from this age are just more blessed in terms of everything that's they have maybe 50% of the job that's done. A lot of the producers use like pre-made loops now, a bit like hip hop EJ, but back in the time with all these trap loops, they're using mixers that are like super virtual instruments now that you press one thing and everything compresses and all like everything is just easier than before. You don't need to buy any physical gear. You could do all your music from a laptop or even your phone,
And
so
even, and YouTube. I'm going to throw YouTube in. YouTube, a
so
game
there's no
changer.
value that everybody can push music. Before you needed money. If you didn't have $10,000 or minimum to push yourself, back then nobody would hear about you, like because you needed fucking at least $10,000 to do all your shit and bring it out physically. But now it's just you need no money. I could record a song now on my phone and bring it out tomorrow on Spotify. It'll cost me $15 on
That's
CD
true.
Baby.
But like the parts that come after that are usually
But what do
not
you think
free.
that does? That stops all the connections because then no, what's the value of the connection right now? Who
That's the
cares about
thing
your
is like, so I'm actually like thinking about this too, right? Like there, it kind of just moved online. That's the real answer. All the payola, all the shit, it's still there. It's just different. Like, yo, there are good playlisters, but you gotta find them. You have to go actually holler at people and go, yo, what's good? Blah blah blah. Actually talk to people. So it's more like a lot of what used to take place in the clubs or in the physical world is taking place in Gmail, because honest, or Instagram direct messages, and because like I can tell you I've made enough valuable connections off the internet to be like aware that it's kind of out there. I mean, yeah, we met in real life, but most of my shit's all internet. But internet like community, like that Montreal Facebook Anglo scene community of 27 to
but, but,
45
but
year olds is huge.
what I'm saying is that the connections that you made, another person can get that same connection very easily now compared to before. Was like if you didn't have my
Mm.
personal number, like somebody would have to ask you, yo, Frime? Yeah, okay, what's his number? I want him on this interview. But now somebody, like you said, can just holler at me on my DM,
I see what
and
you're
that's it.
saying. There's a level of accessibility to individuals that is there. It's still hard to know who the individuals are. That part's complicated as fuck. It's a giant puzzle, and I don't know all the people I need to know, and it drives me nuts to figure out who they is. But you're right. Once I figure out who those people are, fucking easy peasy lemon squeezy. I can get a hold of
But
anybody.
I'll give you another example, like Twitter. Before it was just Twitter was the button.
Right.
When when I got into my solo career, I erased all my music from the past and restarted from that video that you played earlier in 2010 with Freeway Rick Ross. That was kind of the beginning of my
That's a wild.
rebranding.
So I got a couple of questions that I think we need to timeline. When did you come to Montreal?
I came to Montreal like now it's been like 15 years ago. So
2006 ish.
around when I was like 22.
Cool. So you came to Montreal then, and then that's when you're going through your like soul searching phase of figuring stuff out and whatnot, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm just like getting established in Montreal and starting, get involved into the scene here, and
What part of Montreal did you come to?
what type of what? Sorry,
Which part of Montreal did you move to?
I was at first I was close to Crémazie Metro, so it was more like unsick,
Right.
right?
That's
So I mean, close to the metros back then, close to the metro is the place to be.
nah, that's fair, man. I don't know that many people that are in a hunt stick. I'm not even gonna lie. It's just I hear the words, and I was looking at it on a map, and I'm like, it's an hour away by bus, right? So like it's far and it's French. And like as much as I don't care about the French thing from that point of view, it's like none of my life is ever had the word a hun stick like get attached to it. Like I know it, I've been there one two time, but like yeah, it's weird how this city works out where you could just live here and just never end up in entire fucking areas just because of
Yeah,
that.
for sure. Yeah, like there's just places you don't like to go when you're in Montreal because there's little sections that people are more comfortable. There's people like you talk to them about Laval and the people from Laval, you tell them to go to the south side and it's like they feel it's this whole big distance, but it's just 30 minutes.
Nah, man. I went through that. I was like, I had to go to Shamedy for a show. That's the show I was at with you. I was like, I had to go to Shamedy for that shit, and I was like, it was such a good time. It was so worth going to Shamedy for it. But then you realize in a car and shit, yeah, Shamedy's not that far. I go just as far to work as it would have been on bus to Ville Saint Laurent, for real. Um, and yeah, we do act like shit's far, Willie. We very much do. If the STM does not get you there and you have to leave the STM, it feels far. I don't know how else to describe it. The STM could take me to RDP. I'm lying a little bit. RDP's fucking far. But in my head, it feels closer than something like Laval because I'd have to like pay an extra bus ticket.
Yeah, because people, me, like back then, if I didn't have a car in the beginning in Montreal, like it didn't last too long. But if I had to go somewhere, it had to be like close to a metro station. Or else if I checked on the map, it was like a bit outside of if I'd had to take a bus and a transfer, I was like, I ain't going.
I'm with you with that.
I had to be a walking distance from the metro.
So after you get established in Montreal, what gets you to like come back in with this new rebranding, and how do you link up with Freeway Rick Ross?
Well, basically, this is how it happened. I was doing my own music uh, in terms of doing working on an album and recording a lot of songs. And then, like you said, there was the venue of Twitter, and at that time, I just started to just try out some stuff. I wasn't choosing the proper features back then at that time, but I was choosing the features I liked. So I reached out to Havoc the Mob Deep and Terminology and Sky Zoo and Planet Asia, Buck Wild. I was reaching out to people on Twitter, and most of the people back then, I don't know, it was they were answering back, and some of them was the artist directly, some of them was the manager, but that's where I got all my features, like in terms of like connecting with all these American rappers at first. It was all through Twitter. And just okay, holla, okay, this is the verse, okay, it's $500, whatever, boom, here's the beat. They would send me back the verse, and thought we would collaborate. So that's how I first got a certain respect from other people because then I was starting to show I had some solid features. So I had this guy called Spark, and then he was with Big Apple, who used to manage the Weekend and Drake back then at the beginning with the shirt "I'm Not a Rapper." Um, they offered me this deal, and they were like, "Okay, well, we can manage you," and it was a crazy amount per month they were charging me, like almost 2 G's a month. But they were like, one was in LA and one was here. And since they were already manager for the Belly, Weekend, Drake, people like that, I was like, okay, it's gonna cost me, but I'll be in good hands. You know what I mean? 'Cause, maybe that's my next step. And they were helping me choose the best songs I did from all the multiple selections, the multiple ones I had recorded. And it kind of started like that. And then I went to the bank and I took a loan because back then you heard stories like Drake and take a loan to invest in the shit, and you're like, okay. But I took 30 G's at the bank, and I was like, okay, let me do what I need to do for my career. So I paid my features. I was paying this management 2 G's a month, but I was expecting quick results because I was like, okay, now I'm in good hands. It's gonna be quick, but it was still taking certain time for certain aspects. But then that's when I paid myself a video in Los Angeles by Black Diamond. you know, uh, went in Los Angeles, and they had planned all these studios I had to go to and meet the people and meet Rick Ross because they were doing a newspaper back then called Swag News, and it was a paper that it was everywhere. They printed it was like a hip hop newspaper. They had French Montana and all the big rappers. And Rick Ross came out prison like 10 months ago, and they had hooked up with him some type of way, and they planned to come and do his interview a day before my video shoot, and it was where the video shoot was supposed to be at, which was a sushi shop on Hollywood Boulevard, and it was in the basement. They had this whole big studio built in the basement. So basically, that's where I kind of met Rick Ross because he came there and did his interview, and then we just spoke, and we connected. We did a little interview just for the cameras and everything, and then that's how we connected. And I made him listen to the song, and the song was called "It All Depends on You." And because he came out of prison 22 years instead of 25 because of the way he was acting in prison was good, he kind of felt related to the message, I think. So and he felt, okay, yeah, it all depended on me to get out of prison too. And he was really feeling the track. And so I told him at the end, he left, and we were like, everybody was saying bye and whatever. We went to all eat together. And I was like, yo, the video shoots tomorrow. So if you want to come, have an appearance, whatever, we'll put you in the video. And he was trying to back then be known in Canada too, because he was trying to claim his name. He was in court with Warner Brothers with the rapper Rick Ross to try to get his name back, because when he came out of prison, he had no money left from the millions he made selling coke. He just had his name, so that's what he was fighting for. So to my surprise, the next day when the video shoot went down, he came true, and he showed some love, and he just appeared in the video, and we did some interviews. That's why I was able to put some samples of him saying, "Hello, je suis le vrai Rick Ross," and then in French, because I was like, say it in French for the Quebec people in the beginning of the song. And yeah, he just did the cameo in the video, and nobody understood how this French white kid from Quebec City was with this Scarface from Los Angeles, but it just happened that we crossed paths, and we kept in touch, exchanged numbers, and we were just calling each other sometimes because I had this other website I was doing called I Need Hip Hop, which was a blog, and I had him doing exclusive
Hold on.
interviews on that.
You have a
And then
blog too?
I had a blog back then called I Need Hip Hop, and then my manager hooked up with some other guys from Quebec City that love my music. So I made a deal with them because they wanted to push their clothing brand, and they were going on this Quebec tour to push their clothing brand everywhere. So I said, well, on top of your clothing brand, let me give you my 4 or 5 mixtapes let me give you my Frime hats, my Frime shirts, and all this shit, so you could go around and also sell those things and just play the music, and people be like, what's that? Oh, these are the mix CDs. And so I had made a deal with them to sell all my shit and go on tour and do some of the dates with them, you know. So then that's when we kind of decided to. They had bought a Winnebago, and we found a sponsor and sponsors to wrap it all up with my face and everything. So they kind of they put their logo, my logo, and then I put a big picture in the back of me and Freeway Rick Ross, and then like that was my tour bus, and I had a tour bus. I don't remember how it all happened, but that's what it is, and we pushed it. We all paid, and we had an old Winnebago, but wrapped up like a new tour bus, and it looked amazing outside, but it was an old Winnebago inside the like. I didn't want to go to stops and have people look too much because you know the tires were screeching and everything. But from outside it looked amazing, you know, and everybody was like, "How the fuck Frame got a tour bus?" And then Rick Ross saw that his face was on it, so I was kind of the spokesperson for. Oh, he's the real Rick Ross, basically, because there was this whole controversy back then. You know, when he was coming
Yo,
back.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I was a Rick Ross hater back then. Because I'm not gonna lie, I love Rick Ross music now, but back then, I'm a lyrical miracle. Fuck anything that sounds like whatever I don't understand, white boy. So, I was like secretly low key hoping that Freeway Rick Ross would win and Rick Ross would have to change his name because he was a correctional officer. And for some
So
reason,
exactly. So that's why you saw earlier you were playing my mixtape I did with him, and we gathered all the people from Canada with the DJ crowd from Montreal, and he was just supporting everything I was doing because he saw I put his fucking face on my tour bus. So imagine how much of a blessing you see somebody's coming. He met me once in LA. He took some pictures, and then he's like, I'm putting him on the tour bus. So he's like, at that time he was pushing Freeway Music Group FMG, and he had some rappers on his label. So every time I was doing new songs, instead of paying for features now, I was just calling Rick Ross and saying, okay, I got this new song I'm going to release, and we're on tour, we're this, that. So who you want to put on the song? So he would say, okay, I got Paris Montgomery. I got D. Carter. I got no, no, no. So then they would just send me verses, and I started collaborating with so much people from the West Coast like that, you know. And then that's how I got connected with Mac Lucci because I almost did a feat with Snoop Dogg that was supposed to be paid by a skateboard brand with Jay Casanova that had his own skateboard brand and stuff called Selfish. And it was all planned that was going to shoot the video with Snoop in Venice Beach on the skateboard park. But finally they choked. But at the end of the day, with Freeway, I discovered Mac Lucci and I said, "Yo, I saw it was in his video." I said, "Can you put Mac Lucci on my next song?" So then I was able to get Mac Lucci's number, and he just hollered at him and connected for the feature. You know, so it was a lot of a blessing because the guy was, even though he is what he is and he did what he did, he was just very humble and very. You would talk to him like he's just one of your friends, one of your buddy. How's your daughter? How's this, that? You know, he would stay humble, you know. Then I'd make jokes sometimes like, hey, you get too big again and I won't able to reach you. He's like, nah, I'm always gonna ask you. And now he got too big and switched numbers and he's unreachable. But if I see him, I'm gonna see him and he's gonna be like, yeah, fry him, you know. But it was a cool time, and then it's just different in Hollywood. You know, I got to go to some places and they were playing my mixtapes, and I got everybody when they understand the language compared to here, they don't fully understand sometimes. You know, even in Montreal, half of them won't understand. But when everybody's rocking with your music and you're in one of the like most popping clubs and the owner accepts to play your music and everybody's just vibing while they're eating lobster pizza and drinking like Patron and shit, you're just like, you know, I think I'm made to do this, you know, like everybody's vibing to my music and everybody loves it, you know. And everywhere I went to these studios, okay, they respected the music, they respected this. So nobody ever hated on my music that much. You know, I never really had a lot of hate towards my. I never felt anybody was like, oh, never heard feedback like that, through my career. So, and it was always getting better and better. So it was kind of easy for me to elevate, but it was just the steps were getting bigger. I almost featured with Snoop. It didn't happen. Fuck. I would do it. Was the next big move. I had an investor, almost had another feat with Nas. That didn't work. When we spoke to the manager, it didn't turn out. Then we were just trying to find investors, because then the music is good, the videos are good, everything is good, but you need a $50,000 to get played on all the U.S. radios, and that's what it costs for one song in U.S. If you wanted to play on all the radios, it's about $50,000. So then you need investors, you need money somewhere. That's why a lot of people will start in the game and get to a certain point. Like even people here in Montreal, they'll get to 1 million views, but they'll never get to 50 million, 30 million, 90 million views, because they're not, when they get to that last step, they just already feel on top, and they're not even near the top. They're just starting to get their bug on it. And nobody takes advantage of their organic reach to have 1 million and start advertising and doing more shit for them and doing bigger feats and doing bigger that. They just stick, and now they start doing features with people here, and nobody cares. That you'll keep having 1 million, 2 million, So that's why, at least throughout my music career, I could say I was one of the only rappers in Quebec to have at my tour bus. I've met one of the biggest respected drug dealers. I have the best street cred, that anybody has. I had some features with some of the realest people in the hip hop game, in terms of not the mainstream, but that are still respected today. And it's just like I did my thing, and it's just I was pushing, and I had something going, but it was just that last step was really big. So that's why I kind of ran out of money at some point. It was like, fuck, man, I'm just spending money and not getting any money back, And it's not a good investment. It's not a good business. I need to do some other type of business. So I turned around into production now. That's why I'm working on a project to put all the music I produced since 2009 and put it all on the Audio Stock platform to make it available to people like you who do podcasts or videos or content, and just choose one of my beats to play it in the back while they're doing their show, instead of having all this music, sleep on my hard drives.
You know what's wild though? Have you ever actually looked at the numbers on ambient music? Like, if you ever just produce like rainforest shit or whatever, like just the actual numbers on that shit, it's wild. Cause it's fucking fun to listen to when you're doing work and crap. It's just nice background noise stuff. My girlfriend watches fires, like it's a 4-second loop for 8 hours.
Mm.
And that shit has 9 figures in view count on organic, just people like there's a lot in production.
Because I'll tell you what happens is that now I try to produce people. I give my production to people I know they're gonna do something good and professional and decent. Unless it's not really at that point, I don't really spend time, because a lot of artists will listen to your music, but it's not like before. Well, let's say they'll come to see you, right? And they're like, yeah, I'm going to go see HSR because he has his own sound and I want that sound. They'll come, they'll listen to your whole fucking repertoire of beats, banging their heads. Hey, man, this beat is dope, man. Yeah, that's another dope one, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, this shit's fire. Oh, let me note that one down. And then after listening to all of that, they'll bring out their phones and they'll be like, can you do one like this, though? And then you're like, just get out of the studio, man. Like, you want my musical signature, or you just want to sound like everybody else? Because now you're just making me listen to somebody else's beat. Did you come? So there's no more really nobody really cares about having their own unique sounds. Now it's just, let's do a track. Okay, I like this trap beat. Okay, they record the song, they release it. They don't spend 2 years working on their album, I'm not saying nobody does it, but
Nah, my God, because I know, because what I see is it's younger people. Like when I say younger, I mean 22ish and younger. that be
Right.
taking the 5 years to make their album because they're like, bro, you're 30 something and you're rapping. I got 7 years to make this album, bro. I can fuck around with singles and experiment for the next 5 years. And what I found was remarkable with the little ones, because millennials be a bad representation of shit. If I have to be honest, we have not fully played the music game good, but the little ones were on YouTube at 12 with all the time in the world to learn how to do shit. So by the time they're like 18, they got like 7 years of fucking around. I've talked to a 17-year-old with fucking 350 songs. I was like, oh, you're gonna have a career, cause like, I mean, yeah, the rest of what you're going on about money and shit.
That's what I was saying earlier, right? Now, back then, I had the blessing to have somebody that was already producing a lot and he was giving me a recording me, producing my music and recording me. But now it's just everybody can produce and record. That's why they just do songs and songs and they're so focused on doing 300 songs, they don't even push a song for more than a second. They're like, oh, this is my new song. This is my other new song. They just get excited about every new song they release. And then nobody heard that first song. Like that's a big mistake because they should take time to, if you notice DJ Khaled and all the greats right now, they release the song months in advance, almost fucking 10 months in advance. You listen to the fucking song 10 months and then you love the song already. And then boom, they drop the video. And then you're like, then everybody goes wild on the video. You know what I mean? But now everybody like release the video and the song at once, and then another video and song, and then they don't push the audio anymore. They just put audio visual because that's what people want to see. But
that's that
they
social
don't
media
have
shit.
the attention span to say, oh, that's one of my best songs, and I'm gonna really keep pushing that one too. Even though I'm gonna bring out other things, let me push it a bit longer. Did I reach all the medias to talk about it?
It's interesting that you say that because I think there's a couple of things to it. One, I'm back to that kid. That kid, it took forever to even release his first EP. He made those many songs. What he's releasing is a different number. What I'm saying is they get the practice in, and then they hit the early 20s, but they've been on Instagram since they were 12, so they understand marketing. So what they do is they throw burner shit out. Release a lot of bullshit because they know the album's going to sell and the album's going to be perfect. So what we're seeing is a lot of like their equivalent of mixtapes, but it's playing out through reels. And like, why wouldn't you make 37 visuals if you can do it on your cell phone?
Yeah, for sure. Exactly.
It's that kind of. So I agree with music videos is kind of a weird place. Ain't nobody doing a lot with music videos these days. It's actually like, I wish people tried harder. Is all I'm gonna say with music videos, because like it's too easy, and I'm not good at music videos, so like I'm not gonna pretend like it's like my forte. But like when I consume Airbnbs, cars, the same kind of scenery, I don't know. It just feels like that's where I see what I think you're talking about with music. But I do see people pushing audio. I just don't see fans. So I feel like what's wild is the people that are most likely to discover you are like 19-year-olds on YouTube looking for obscure fucking music. So it's like this weird cycle to land on Spotify, and not a lot of us know how to get there. But once somebody fucking likes your song, that's it. It'll go up organically forever. They'll listen to that shit. Like, it may not be every day, but they'll just keep coming back to it once they like it. So
well, to make a living now, you just need 30,000 people to listen to your songs 2 times a day, and you're good. 30,
you hear that, Willie?
People,
Sorry,
30,000 people ain't that much.
It's not that much.
When you add it up per month, it's millions of streams, but it's still 30,000 people that love that song. They just listen to it twice a day. So
let's be real. If you like a song, how many times you got to run that back? It wasn't enough that first time. You can't even help it. It's so easy when you hear a track and you like it a lot to bump it 2 times in a row. But I do think that the younger generation is just learning about conversion funnels, and they recognize that there's no point dropping the album when they don't have the fan base. And the truth is throwing fodder kind of grows organically. Like, I released a fuck ton of music this year. None of it's album. My album shit's gonna come, but now every time I drop, my follower count goes up on fucking Spotify, and that never happened before. So it's like, it's almost like this weird rock and a hard place where it's like you're forced to release a lot of bullshit so that when you do release your good, it's gonna sound. But that's kind of what mixtapes was. Like, it's not
Yeah.
that different.
But
It's
but
just that
but
it's
that's people that start, because then somebody like me that did thousands of songs, it's just always hard. Example, earlier you played one of my songs, It All Depends on You. Like, that concept is deep, that concept is timeless. That moment in time of doing that song and that message, it was the whole reason. Like, that was the tour back then. It All Depends on You tour, because I was taught that even though you're trying to help everybody around you, it all depends on them to make a difference. It all depends on you to make it. It's about you wanting, you know what I mean? So that whole message, and to tell you the truth, like, I made songs ever since that one, and it was always hard for me to be like, how can I do a song as deep of a message as that relates to them? And that's always the challenge as you do better and better songs as an artist, to keep doing a song that's better than the last one. Because then if you don't do what fans are expecting, then you'll lose the audience, because they're expecting a certain sound and then you switch. Like, example, Gucci Man. You listen to Gucci Man. Gucci Man 10 years ago is the same type of vibe as now, and he's not going to change because he knows that's what the people want to hear. He's not going to go and switch his whole vibe and start being on some pop shit. People like Snoop, when he started playing some reggae, nobody bought the reggae album. He didn't give a fuck. He just still wanted to do a reggae album. When Outkast, the guy from Outkast started singing, he had a couple hits, but then nobody wanted to hear him sing. You know what I mean? You wanted to hear him rap. So, like, the musical journey takes you through things, but you always got to remember that, get out of that shell of everybody talking and feedbacking about your music and saying shit, and just disconnect from that and be like, I like my song, I love my lyrics, I love the vibe, and if I like it, other people are gonna fuck with it, and they're gonna feel that I really, in my music video, that I really like it too, because that's my taste, and I'm not trying, because, want it or not, we're all in that influence phase, because we see other types of music. So all these rappers now, that's why they're on some autotune shit, because that's what's popping. But they don't know no better. That's even what they first, Lil Wayne 10 years ago, he was on autotune. So if they started with Lil Wayne, that's all they know.
a lot of people started with Lil Wayne. In case you're out there wondering how big Lil Wayne is, yo, even if they're like 29 right now, they was probably vibing to Lil Wayne early.
Right. So that's why I realized, and I came back to it at the end of the day now. It's all about making music that I feel is good to me, and that's all I care about. I could hear a feedback from anybody, and I'll take it constructively, and I'm the first one to take any constructive criticism. But if the shit is just bullshit talking about useless things on the song, I don't pay attention to it.
Honestly, I don't really ask for a lot of feedback no more. I just assume that,
Because
like,
it's the wrong feedback. We're surrounded by what? Producers, rappers. So
facts.
we're making them listen to other producers and rappers, and their advice sucks, because that's not who's gonna listen to it.
Yo,
And then you realize, when you make it listen to random people that are not in that circle, everybody loves it, because the regular person is more stimulated by music than everybody else that already does music.
but
The
it's
people
also
that love
like,
music.
yo, people, like regular people, do not listen to music the same way that like artists do. Like, I'm not ever listening to a song. Like, I have to like flick a switch in my head that I had to find in a sense to become a fan of music the way a fan is a fan of music. Like, I had to listen to a lot of Migos, Lil Yachty's,
Right.
like a lot of this stuff because, well, for one thing, it was girls. It was all about what girls listen to actually. I did this thing where I was playing Among Us on stream and I was playing Montreal music, and I had my girlfriend was there, this next girl was there, and I would just watch what their heads bop to, and I was paying attention in my mind. Which songs are their heads bopping to? And yo, like, what am I supposed to do? That's what they like, and they would bop to the same kind of shit over and over again. It wasn't, and I was like, oh. And then I realized rappers be like skill oriented, kind of like metal guitarists that are into shredding and super complicated solos and over the top shit versus like an Oasis that's just like a good groove. And that fucking groove will snag you for 9 fucking minutes.
I mean, there's still some that will stand out. I mean, like if you see the new artists that went the independent route, there's artists like Russ, you know, there's artists like Joner Lucas, there's artists like Logic that are still like doing some of that real hip hop shit, and they have a whole audience for it, and they're doing 24 bars, you know, 30 bars, 36 bars. They don't even have hooks sometimes on the song.
That's
And
fair.
then and they have a whole audience
To
for it.
be
And
fair
then so
though,
that
Russ is like 80% of his music is like singing melodic. Like definitely he knows his music is for women.
yeah,
And
but he'll still do like Drake example, still always show that he does
yeah,
real hip
yo,
hop.
Drake did like a 6 minute track recently, and it was just rapping, barely a hook.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. So it always makes you think of the first reaction of anybody who's gonna make you or gonna show your song to is always like, oh, example, if you're doing a verse too long, they just okay, the verse the hook should come sooner. No, 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 no. It should be like this, should be like that, because they think it should be a radio format and all of that. But it's not like that. We don't even put our songs on radio. We don't care about the radio format. I care about somebody want to hear a fucking 36 bar verse of Eminem, and he's gonna like the rapping and the metaphor like I used to, you know, and that's who I care about. So if I want to do a longer verse, I'm not gonna care about that producer or rapper friend that thinks my hook should be earlier to make it more radio friendly or more.
But my rapper friends are not like your rapper friends, is what I've learned in this interview. We have rapper friends that want very different things out of music.
I mean, I'm just saying, like in
But
terms
to
of
be fair though, I agree that all of our rapper friends are not who we should listen to, and we should find fans. Like honestly, find young people.
because I mean, I'll make my music I, people like 19 years old and they'll love it, and they never heard me before. So it's like at the end of the day, that's what I care about. I just care about random people listening to the first time, being like, I love this shit. You know, because other people they hear you every day, they even talk to you. So you're like, here's my song, and it has no impact. You know,
Yeah,
they know you too much.
or like if everybody also like we're all doing the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like at a certain point, this like idea of follow for follow, click for click, like for like, all of this stuff, it got really like meaningless to me. Kind of like how you described earlier, like if you don't sell enough shit, they don't want to take you back, and there's no like recurring investment, and it doesn't make any sense. I noticed how often like people's numbers would go up, but the wrong numbers were going up. I've seen people flex follower accounts that have engagement rates of less than 1%. And I'm like, that's not actually a flex, my guy. And it's
Yeah, I
like,
prefer having 1,000 people following me that are real people that care than 9,000 fake random accounts. You know, like
or even then, like 70% of my Instagram right now, it's like this giant Rolodex of fucking rappers and shit. Like, does my follower count? Like, we all followed each other because we're all rapping peers. Like, yeah, it's
right.
kind of cool, but I know that like maybe a couple hundred people are following me for the reasons I want, and the rest of my
Yeah.
follower account is like, well, I gotta follow this person. Look at what they're doing.
Well, that's why I'm doing it actual tests right now with Instagram, and you'd be surprised with the results. I started because I see like other accounts like Snoop Dogg and Pete Rock and other people just reposting things, you know, and showing basically what they find is a good thing to share or something funny to share. So I started just mixing, taking that app to repost and started reposting like maybe 2 weeks ago, just reposting what I think is funny with some or somebody I know and try to support and repost on my page and repost and repost. And I realize like people don't want to just see you. They don't care about seeing you every day and I'm here and I'm there and I'm that. They want to see your personality too. They want to see what you think is funny. They want to know, what other thing you're sharing that, oh, that's good music to you, then I fuck with it. And the fucking engagement rate since I started doing that, because while I'm reposting, I'm getting the people that took time to write these specific producer hashtags and this, that. The engagement rate of my page went up like 2,500%. And I was like,
Yeah,
so
everybody
basically,
should be taking fucking notes right now. Is all I'm saying. This is big boy tips.
so basically, and that's what a lot of people do on YouTube too. They don't even produce content. They'll go and they'll say, okay, I want to do a top 10 on the best, I don't know, scary ghost thing. So they'll see all the videos of scary ghosts that they can download for free that don't have copyrights, and they'll do a fucking top 10 on their channel and just keep uploading things from other people, and they call it cash cows because all the people watch those videos, like top tens of cute
Fuck that.
kittens,
Yo, that's like
and they're
that's
making money because
fucking
instead of,
wild.
yeah, and the same thing with Instagram right now. That's why when I'm posting other people's shit, and it's bringing people that wouldn't have normally come to my page
Like,
because
is
it's
this
just,
like is this built into Instagram, or like are you working around Instagram?
well, I'm just working around Instagram, and I have a repost app, and I'm just basically reposting what I like, what I instead of just liking it, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put that on my page too. I think it represents me.
Yeah,
So anyway, just crazy. And
I
look,
believe
the
your
number,
stats, bro. Hey, this sounds like a viable strategy to gain growth. You know what? You know
and,
what? I'm not
and
gonna lie. You know how I know? Cause your fucking reposting bullshit caught my eye. I was like, "What the fuck is this man doing? That is not his post." But then
yeah,
but it's like you're giving like full credit to whoever the fuck you're posting from. It's not like a secret. And I was
yeah,
just super confused. But it was more like, it is. It's like, it's honestly like the equivalent of random ass Facebook statuses for Instagram.
right, exactly. I just share what I would share on Facebook or something like that.
And you go live on Instagram a lot too, I noticed.
Yeah, I'm just because I'm here uploading beats to my platform, and I'm exporting beats, and I'm just might as well be live at the same time, so people they listen to all the production and start hyping up the site.
So tell us a bit about where you're at now. I mean, I don't know what happened between, actually. We were at like 2013 in your story, like 2012 ish, and you were like kind of popping.
Yeah,
Because I know the Freeway Rick Ross mixtape thing was 2013 ish.
right. Well, that's I mean, at that time it was just like where I had to kind of just turn around a bit and get out of the scene, which so I was still always doing music in the back, but not releasing as much because I just got tired of not making money. So it's just more on my money tip and trying to build companies and trying to do other, money making directions. Because I mean, rap is good, but it could take you down to the hole too. If you believe in it, then it's not bringing back the money the way it's supposed to. You're just gonna go down the drain, and it's not gonna work. So now I'm happy that after all of that and that experience, having my own company for over 5 years now, and a successful company and lucrative, and having done things I should have done in the past, now I'm able to focus with the whole COVID shit. I was able to focus on just spending all my time exporting all these beats that were sleeping because I'm in advanced marketing now. Just like I was like, what am I gonna sell? Am I going to sell candles, T-shirts? I don't care because I just know how to do a e-com and market it, so I can make money with this. And then I turned around and I said, wait a minute, I already have the products. I have all my music here, so might as well, instead of aiming artists, I'm going to aim video creators and content creators and podcasts and everybody who needs background music that don't care about about the beat looping too much or not having a transition, because that's perfect for their podcast. Actually, they're actually preferring that than a whole music that'll evolve all the time behind them. They just want something that's just groovy in the back, you know?
See,
So I realized the potential of all my unfinished beats, you know? So now I went back, I exported so far 2009 to 2015, and I'm uploading on the site. So it's a huge process in terms. I started this whole project a year ago, and now I'm uploading. So that's why when you see me on the live, I'm either exporting beats for the platform or uploading beats. And people are gonna be able to download 5 beats for $5 a month and use it for wherever, you know. And I'm not gonna subscribe that shit anywhere. So it's licensed to use for anything, and I don't care. And I'll be finally
yeah,
able at 2,000 subscribers to be saying, I'll be able to say finally, after all this hustle, I'm making 10K a month with my music with 2,000 subscribers on my audio website. And then within 5 years, I want to get to 20,000 subscribers, $5 a month. I'll be making 100K a month with my website, with my music, with a bunch of beats I wouldn't have sold to rappers. And then what's going to happen? And I'm going to expand that to start introducing other people's music to the platform and introduce specific producers and put all their library, and then do collaboration and have other people and add on and add on. And then what's going to happen? Then the artists are going to come to us to ask for these. And they're going to say, I like that beat and I want to take it off the website and I want the stem. And then I won't have to do anything. So then I would say, fuck the industry. I'm making $1 million with 20,000 subscribers, and I'm living off my music, you know, and I don't need to be in front of the mic. I don't need to go do shows. I don't need to think about what's my next music video, which bitch I'm gonna put in the video, what place I'm gonna rent to do the video. I'm just here having fun in the studio producing the music, you know, and that's one of the best parts. And if I want to record, I'll record a song now, but it'll be on my own platform for somebody who wants to use it on the background of whatever, a movie, whatever they want to use it for. Instead of having my songs stream online to everybody, that's cool, but I prefer that it's used somewhere, you know, because I have so many unreleased songs too. So might as well put them there too. So it's just creating my own platform, you know what I mean? So I
it's,
don't need anything else after. And it's cool for me because now even after producing all this music, you invite people to your studio and like, oh, make me listen to some beats. And then you're like, you don't know where to start. And you're, oh, how did I call that beat? And this, that. Now at least all my music will be in one place, and I can even use the filters from the site. Oh, you want something that mood? You want something that tempo? You want something that? And it'll show everything I produced in those moods. So it'll be much easier to show music to people too. So
yo, the
like,
biggest takeaway y'all can take from this whole situation might not be the excellent hustle. It's to solve your own problems with what you already have. If you can do that, you'll find $1 million in your head like this man just did. That's some hustle. Yo, that was impressive. Like I don't. Everybody that was here right now that heard you say that got a top 10 piece of knowledge on this fucking journey I've been on. That's how. Cause like I mean, like my day job, part of why I'm there is the marketing, the reputation. It's a bunch of that shit. It's like free education. Um, I like my job too, but like what you're saying is some shit that would make investors happy. Based, you hit every fucking checkbox, down to fucking subscriptions. Like that's some next. That's the kind of shit I want people. That's what I want to hear more about. Innovative ways to leverage existing technology to make crazy money on the internet from home. Cause then you can go do the fucking shit you couldn't afford to do before.
yeah, man. And I mean, the possibilities are endless. Once all my music is there and I have like thousands of melodies and drum loops and beats available, I saw on Adobe Audio Stock, there's only 5 partners. So there's space for a 6th partner for me to put my music on Adobe Audio Stock too. I got partnerships I could do with virtual instruments from Native Instruments. They're
Oh, did
always
you
looking.
tell? Is the website live or is it still being uploaded?
Right now, it's still being worked on, but it's gonna be 5for5soundtracks.com.
Mm.
So basically, the business model is $5 a month for 5 soundtracks. If you're already member and you want more soundtracks, then you'll be able to download more for 50 cents an extra. And or you could pay for the yearly 55 instead of 60 for the whole year. You'll pay for the
Mm.
whole year.
So my podcasting homie, I would even argue a sister channel up in this Twitchiverse. We speak English good is excited. He's asking about the website and then followed with a nicey. You got big love. Like everybody in the chat commented on this.
I
That's big,
appreciate it.
bro.
I appreciate the love.
And like yo, on the real, like fuck, like even just you could expand it. Like I want to fuck around with some short form video content ideas because again, rap's a money sink, but you can do everything else and then rap squeeze it in the middle of it, right? So it's like
Right.
one of the issues that you know what? Because yo, copyright's a real thing, and like people don't know that it's gonna get worse. Like all you have to do is follow the legal system as their battles progress. Like what you're offering people is something that like let somebody like me get some goofy or whatever vibe background musics for a couple of purposes. I can then go offer voiceover services to the next man with some music behind it
Right.
and double flip it. And then on the other hand, I can just create content and not have to stress that shit. Cause yo, the copyright world, what happens is they take your monetization off your content. Really.
And also, I have the experience of releasing loads of music and singles with music that I've sampled. So I already know that the way I produce my music, I twitch the sample enough and I tune it and I chop it enough for it never to be spotted, you know? So I don't use nothing from A to Z that, oh, it was like this and I'm just adding a drum
Because
to it.
like nobody's ever gonna run this through fucking DistroKid or CD Baby. It's all gonna go into other kinds of shit. It's never gonna get stamped. That's wild, bro. That's a high value for $5.
And I check the market. A lot of people will have much more music, but me, I could say it's music that will be found nowhere else. That's exclusive to my because it's all produced by me, but nobody will know because it'll be under five soundtracks, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's wild. All of that's
but I
wild.
mean, in the price range, even though let's say you want to be on another site and they say, yeah, it's unlimited, I don't care that the competitor is offering unlimited for $12 a month because somebody that doesn't have $12 a month will prefer going for 5 for only what they need. I'm aiming somebody who edits about 4 or 5 videos a month, which is a lot of video producers that I know. They'll edit about 4 or 5 videos, you know, and then if you don't use all your credits this month, it's transferred to the next month, so you never lose it. You know what I mean? So it's a big value, and I'm lower than
Look, I
everybody.
don't like to co-sign shit unless I really believe it, but fuck me, that's a good value proposition for me, for anybody out there for that price. Like, and it's good for you because yo,
And
why
at the end
everyone
of the
else is
day,
you know why everyone else is charging more and etc. Because they don't own all the music, but you own all the music, so you just cut out like a huge cost in this shit. Thus, you can keep your prices at whatever the fuck you want, and that's wild, bro. That's a good value for real.
and I already market products. I market diamond jewelry, so I sell rings. Like I make $5,000, $7,000 sales on e-commerce websites. So
Bro,
for me to start selling
so you're
something
you're
that
the YouTuber that talks to me about all the paid funnel various the Amazon this is the fucking
no, me,
not
I
in a
do
bad way, but like
me,
effectively.
I'm not. I don't like to teach. I just like to get paid to do the work. So if somebody has a company has 10,000 to put this month, and they need to advertise online, I'll be able to spend a certain part on Google Ads, on display, on
Okay,
YouTube,
I
on
respect that
Facebook.
a lot.
You
No, it's a
know,
big
so
hustle.
that's it's the same thing as music. It's just instead of selling the music, and it's just a diamond jewelry or a product or a service.
Yeah.
but the marketing strategy remains almost the same in terms of you need to find something. My strength is to make people stand out, like be out of the box. That's why if you go see the diamond jewelry store, I did a jingle for him. The jingle's funny. The guy, Dr. Diamond, bum, bum, it's Dr. Diamond. Like no other jewelry store will have a jingle like that, and the guy looks like he's just there with his Dr. Diamond suit, and everybody talked about it, got 500,000 views, and I had people in the city clapping and singing that song. Not through my music, through my marketing of my client, but it's still a good feeling to now, anybody that wants my services, example, outside, I don't really take new clients, by the way, everybody's going to hit me up after. I'm not taking any clients, but I'm not here to make clients. I'm just talking. But now, just to let you know how content that stands out gives value. If I bring somebody to my website right now, they won't even ask me for a report of what did I do for my client and how many sales I brought, because they just see 4 pictures that look crisp. They look, in line with the field. And then I show them a video of a jewelry store that's fucking look like a $10,000 video. And it has the jingle and everything. And that's it. I said, look, I did this website, and they don't ask for nothing. They're just so, yeah, sure, do my marketing. So that's why when you try to be different, it's always going to pay off, because then as soon as you show you're different, people are going to want that creativity, and the creativity is what has no price point, because not everybody could just look at a product and be like, oh, this is the whole marketing campaign we'll do for you right now, and I have all these ideas about it. They're like, oh, I don't know, can we just put it here in the picture? Can we just do the picture here of the product? No, we need to build a set for the product and put fucking colors that pop and fucking have jungle theme and have fucking, they don't know how to go, all the way like that. So that's why it's cool for a lot of artists of people you were talking about back then, people from Quebec that came to Montreal. I see a lot of people around me, they're all in marketing right now, because people in the marketing agencies, they need people like us that's been creating content and know how to do all this. It paid off, all that those times I didn't make money with the actual part of the music. The knowledge I gained with it is what pays me today.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. Doing all of this keeps me employed, because I'm in the kind of role at work where it's like, how do you prove you know things? You best be doing something in your life that proves you know things. So the fact that I'm able to keep doing interviews or keep making content, keep producing, it's less even about the numbers.
The fact that you chose Twitch also shows that you know that it's a smart move, because you could do lives right now on YouTube and have no money, but now at least on Twitch, even if you got 9 people, a person that wants to subscribe will have to pay.
Facts.
So Twitch is the way to go for anybody that wants.
There's actually one step further with it. I wanted to go to VR, but that was too big a sell when I came into it. Even now, people still be looking at me funny. But I realized that any kind of content I could produce on Twitch could translate into a VR space in the metaverse before it was well named by people. Because if you think about how it's going to work, it's all got to be live because you're wearing fucking headsets and shit. So YouTube got less interesting because YouTube is like video on demand. Thus, and I'm not really that kind of editor. I can sit there and talk shit for like 5 hours if I have to. But like, while I have learned a lot about editing, because if you're a professional, learn the fucking shit you hate because you will just get better at your craft. And so like, I learned a lot, but ultimately I realized that once this VR shit goes mainstream, whoever's on Twitch is in for a good fucking time, and YouTube people are fucked. It's gonna be like Vine to YouTube again, and that's some shit.
You found a solution. You like that channel enough, pay to subscribe. Everybody can subscribe for free on YouTube. And Twitch, you gotta pay to subscribe.
The YouTubers basically everybody I liked on YouTube is on fucking Nebula and fucking Curiosity Stream, so I think I have to go on fucking Nebula and Curiosity Stream now because YouTube's getting fucking trash because none of these people be producing shit anymore on YouTube. And I'm like,
Right.
say word. And that is, I think, what's going to happen a lot. We are definitely going to see that migration to private spaces, but I think that's kind of what even Facebook be trying to engineer and shit because, yo, this YouTube shit be wildly corporate now.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
I put
And it didn't have
$126.
so much ads. Now there's more and more ads, so people are tired of seeing the ads, so they'll go back to a platform ad-free platform. You know, so it's always like that. So the cycles.
Yeah, and
That's
I,
why we used to search. That's why we used to search on Yahoo, and now we search on Google because there's always somebody better who's gonna take over.
but it's also the subscriber thing. Like, end of the day, I am convinced that via content and other endeavors, we can create a subscriber count of like 20,000 people. Like, why not? Like, if other people can do it, why can't we pull that off? It might take however long it takes. There's moves that have to get made. But, like you
Yeah,
said, like, that's a lot of money. And then I was like thinking about it. Like, Patreon is interesting. I've made more on Patreon than I've made on Twitch and YouTube. I would say
right.
Twitch and YouTube
Well,
combined is what
Patreon
me.
is the funding. Is the funding.
And I haven't done well on Patreon. I've done really fucking bad. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm like, I gotta redo it over the next couple of weeks. Like, it's in the plans. But like, even without trying, I managed to do pretty good on Patreon. And YouTube was garbage for a long time. YouTube's still garbage. So it's like Twitch is a lot of work. But like,
But I can help you with YouTube. You know, with a small little advertising budget, at least to put it in front of other similar shows and.
no, I hear you with that. That's a whole other conversation. But it
Yeah,
was
yeah, but I mean, if you need help, I'll be a pleasure to help you because I don't like people that have all that passion like you and spend a lot of time doing all these videos and uploading them and they're not seen enough, you know? So I want to help you spend all that energy to have more people see it because I think it's worth it because you're actually spending your time trying to make this good content and
I would love
have people
to
see it.
discuss all of that and maybe figure out where to put things, but I don't know. I don't know what the right choice. There's a lot of choices, is all I'm saying. So I hear what you're saying. Very open to having a conversation like that, because honestly,
On some other tip, but it's just because we're talking about marketing. But
yo, it's my favorite part. If I can get people to marketing by the end of the interview, every time I pull that off, that is the big win. Of like that's half the. I love marketing. I love it a lot. I'm way into organic community growth and shit like that. So I've been spending a lot of time on my Discord lately, trying to learn how to Discord better. I have a picture in my head of what the fuck it's gonna be. Then I'm gonna work on the next things and whatnot. But all things considered, it's like the fact that you can create you can get subscribers to whatever you do, whether it's content, a beat making site of any kind, or whatever. People might just there's a dude on Twitch my girlfriend found that smokes weed, and that's his
but
entire channel. That's all he does is he smokes pot,
yeah,
and people pay him monthly to do that. So it's like that's the world we in. Then you look at like a VR situation, and you're like, oh, so you can just design the private club,
right.
and that's it. Fuck everybody else. You're either in the club or you're not. You want to come to the club? It's whatever access.
Well, that's why people they're like, oh, what's NFTs? What's NFTs? It's like in the metaverse when you'll have your mansion that you created, then you'll need things to decorate inside the
Oh
mansion
shit,
instead of a painting, it's gonna be an NFT on the wall, and then
bro! That is the
there'll be
first good
yeah,
explanation somebody's given me for like a practical use for an NFT. Say word.
because the people are buying virtual land now, right? Because there's no more land to buy in the real world, so they have to make people buy some other type of land. Now they're selling virtual lands, and people are gonna build their little houses, and they'll be, yeah, look, I got my $1 million NFT on the wall, man, in my virtual mansion, you know. And then I'll be there with my music store inside the virtual world, selling background music for their houses. You know,
No, I'm
I'm
with
gonna
it.
be one of the first audio stock store to accept all Bitcoin payment, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of that.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Yo,
People
art
don't know what to do
galleries.
with the
Yo, we
money.
speak English good. Brought that up. Virtual art galleries. Like, yo, imagine some of the shit we made fun of. Like, that shit's just a GIF. And then in NFT land, that shit's a copywritten piece of code, and no other motherfucker can reproduce that GIF no more in NFT land. Ho ho. That is super fascinating.
That's why, look, I got a bad monkey picture on my Instagram profile, but I don't have it, but it's like if I took a picture of the Mona Lisa and put it on my profile, it doesn't matter. It's just there's the real owner at the end of the day, you know? So if somebody checks me, he'll know I'm not the real owner of that particular one. But I'm not, I can't, if I want to put a picture of Mona Lisa, I can put a picture of Mona Lisa, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to, so it becomes the same type of thing. If people will go verify if that's really the owner, then yeah, but you know, everybody could use the pictures still. So it's kind of
Nah, but
still
you could, like, I'm just trying to picture in my head an imaginary what the metaverse could be like based on that house shit. Bro, you could do some damage in that world with copyright on NFTs because that's what the NFT does. It makes it exclusive.
exactly.
Woof.
Yeah.
You like getting fines for like fucking putting up artwork on your wall that you didn't own.
Uh,
I don't know, man.
virtual fines,
Nah, that shit's gonna be real money.
virtual cops.
That but real money because they like even Facebook been working on their fucking crypto for a minute. They're like, nah, we coming with this. We ready. We gonna be there. Um, but I'm excited for all of that, man. This you got like a lot going on now. Like usually we don't end interviews on these notes where people are like, bro, I'm about to pop off and I'm worth $1 million in a couple of years. Relax. And I'm like, okay, I believe you. I'm a big believer of like the whole like running a conversation till it's good, and I feel like this one was like a really proper conversation, man. Like you taught a lot of people shit if they really listen to it. Again, like that's just kind of what it is. You give knowledge, and I respect that. Plus, like you've got such a tenured experience with it. Like how many people dropped their first project in 2004, but still be thinking of ways to come up with shit to do with it in 2021, almost 2022. You know, like that's a long time.
I like this song I just made you hear, you know, like it's definitely a TikTok dance. You can see girls like doing attitude on it. I'm busy at the moment, gotta tell you, you know. So I'm always trying. The best leaders are the best followers too, you know. So you always gotta still observe, but
Bro, it's big
keeping
facts.
your style with all of that, you know.
Like I try to constantly remind myself that ultimately the tastemakers are probably not my age. I got to figure out what the trends is and how to add my blend to it. And like in life, that like it's just important to think like that. I find so the fact that you're able to even do that, like that was litty. I liked it. I enjoyed the vibe of that, and it could work totally on TikTok. Like that is. And it's not even bad to think like that. Like, who the fuck doesn't want to have some motherfucker doing some dance to your shit?
Yeah, because forget about the beat, forget about the lyrics. Just think about the concept. How many people can relate in this world? Oh, I'm busy at the moment. Got to call you back later. Everybody acts like that. Everybody prefers sending a text than calling now. So it's just everybody will associate it worldwide to this message because it's just that's how everybody is right now. And they act like they're busy, but they'll answer the messenger right away. And then you're like, yo, I just called you. You know, ain't nobody gonna accept that you reach them back in a week now. They're gonna think you're a fucking asshole. But before, back in my time, little kids, when I left the house, and somebody left me a voicemail on my thing, and I left for a week and a half, and I called them back. They were like, "Hey, you called me fast this time. Usually it's 2 weeks, but now you called me in a week and a half, man. How you doing?" And it
That's
was fine.
wild. That's
And
a
it was
wild
fine.
era to think about when you could just ignore people comfortably.
It's not even ignored them. It's just there was no other possibility of reaching them. So it's just they
Mm,
were
that's a
full.
fact.
But now they don't understand because they're like, wait, I know you have your phone in your hand every fucking second. How come you didn't see my message, motherfucker? You know, I'm not people are like that with me. I'm just exaggerating for everybody watching.
No, I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. At a certain point in time, I have to have the just because it says red doesn't mean I read it conversation with people, because
Right.
I'm like
Right.
notoriously bad sometimes at clicking on shit to get rid of notifications. So yeah, my phone be in my hand, but
I
man,
mean, people don't understand it could be like an email. Like I'll look at an email, but I want to take my time to answer. So do you want me to just answer some like quick message and not think about what I'm gonna write, or you want me to think about what you ask, you know? So it's all about respect at the end of the day. Just starts like don't take it bad if somebody don't text you right away, man. It's like people got lives, they got kids, they got fucking things to do, man. So stop acting like you're the number one priority on the road and you have to fucking go faster or fucking act like you're so important. Nobody thinks of you when they go back home. You know what I mean? So just think of yourself and just making a good life for yourself, and don't fucking try to piss people off for nothing, and just do your thing, man. Like stop acting like you're so important. If you are, you are, and you'll be respected. You're important. You got things to do. You're gonna get back to me. But even though if you're not important, it's okay. You don't have to get back to me too. It's just as long as you keep the respect and the communication alive, at some point. I got people that sometimes text, oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't too much on my Facebook, and I respect that, it's fine. But in the business world, it's unacceptable nowadays.
depending on the pay grade and where
And
you
even clients, come back to clients, like if you're looking for something today and the live chat won't assist you the right way. Those live chats sometimes that you send a message and there's nobody answering right away, and they'll email you later. Then you're like, I don't want to wait for an email later. Let me go on the other website that has the similar service that has a live chat with somebody that wants to talk now. And then you want shit instantly, instant
That's
ramen
facts
noodle.
though. That's big. That's how
Instant
people
ramen
are,
noodle.
especially when it comes to shit you don't want, but like you have to get. But yeah, nah, it's big again. I work in customer service, so the fact is, chat bots that are responsive is hella important. Yeah,
Anyways, I don't want to end the conversation on chatbot, but music wise, much respect to you to show me some love and show some shine on somebody that still did his couple steps, in the Quebec scene here in Montreal. And you could ask about me. Any OG from the city knows me. If you're talking about, In Pass, Sans Pression, DJ Crowd, all the people, Soldier, everybody that's making it right now. It was just at the same level as me. They got some grant support. They got some other things going on that's good for them, and I'm all happy for them, and I'm all happy and proud of the people from my city who put it on. Much respect to all of you who still host Quebec City and Montreal on your back and represent on these labels that fought for years to get the right financial support to push underground hip hop and urban music the way we could push it today. So I ain't got nothing but love and respect for all the newcomers and everybody doing their thing here, and everybody that used to do it with me that went further in their career. I'm all proud of y'all motherfuckers, and I'm happy to say I know y'all. You know what I mean? So everybody got their different paths. But don't hate, just fucking share that shit, man. If you know somebody, stop judging if the shit is at the level that you want it to be. If you know that person, just share it, man. You know what I mean? Like stop fucking, you know, if you know somebody, share the shit, Stop. Somebody might think it's good. Like you said, there's different levels. But don't be a hater. That's why all that reposting on Instagram is working, because I'm showing all this love, and then it's fucking boosting the whole account up because everybody's like, oh, you reposted my shit, I'll follow him. Oh, he reposted the shit of the guy I know I follow and this, that, oh, I'll follow him too. And that's why.
yeah. So that's how it works, though. But yeah, I appreciate you again, and keep doing your thing, though, because it's inspiring to hear people talk about how they can flip their life into things and then have further goals and be able to pursue it, but all while making the music you want, because you can, because you figured out how to like I've been trying to like one of the things I notice classic rappers say is get your money up, and you figured it out, and now you're able to move the things, and
Yeah,
that's
because I mean, the day I'm gonna make 100K a month with my site, it won't be nothing for me to pay myself a $50,000 video, and everybody's gonna say, "Hey, Frime, why the fuck are you gonna pay a $50,000 video when you could do 4 videos for that price?" It's because all my career I did those low budget videos, and I just feel now at this point when I'm gonna reach that point, I deserve for myself to pay myself a $50,000 video, and I want all the props built around it, and all the actors and all the fucking shit, and I want it to be as crazy as Busta Rhymes or Outkast videos, and y'all gonna be like, "What the fuck is this video?" And y'all gonna understand how good visuals can impact the how people will think of how people will relate to a song. You know what I mean? Because that's the only thing in my career I didn't like is just I never felt my visuals were up the like my music was here. My visuals were always like a bit, you know, I didn't never have the big budget videos, you know. But I just want that crispy ass video now with all the actors, all the fucking scenes, 10,000 suit, different, you know, doing all these crazy things and be out, stand out, you know. So when you see this busy at the moment video, you're gonna be like, damn, that's some different shit. You're gonna want to play it again, you know. So I'm not gonna go in a corner store, just rap in front of a corner store in my homie's apartment and on St. Catherine Street and you know on Mount Royal, you know, like I'm gonna build some sets, you know, and I'm gonna make it like a fucking real movie, and I deserve it. And other people are gonna say, "Fuck, you should pay 10 videos, like you could get many videos for that price." But yo, budget goes quick when you got $1 million ideas in the Hollywood movies in your head, you know? How many times did you did a song in your head you were thinking, shit, I could do this scene and this scene and it's gonna be like that. And you see the whole movie in your fucking head, and
Yeah.
then you go down to a sheet and then you're like, okay, what can I afford today on my video shoot? Okay, so the first 5 ideas are costing way too much than my budget. So let's go back to this one. And then
Yeah.
finally, instead of 10 girls, there will be only 2. And I wanted 5 cars, there will be 1.
It's kind of what it is, though, because, like, you can picture it all, but then you just got to figure out what you can get in that moment. We just got a question. What's your go-to music video? Like, your favorite one?
My go-to music video of all times. I mean, "Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See 'Em" from Busta Rhymes is one of my favorite videos of all times because just like an elephant walking by his side in the video, like fucking tribal shit. Back then, the glow in the dark, fucking tribes with the, it was crazy, man. Like I never saw a video. Well, I saw some Missy Elliott videos that were like on some next level, but that was one of the memorable ones, you know. And my other top, I would say, was the first video for Wu-Tang Forever when they came with that whole Killer Bees attacking the cities, and they were like 9 MCs on a song. Like that video, I watched it so much, you know. So you know, some top videos. Um, Besides that, Big Punisher, what you gonna do back then? What you gonna do and gonna knocking at your door, yo. So yeah, man, that's a couple of them. Anybody else got some more questions?
Yeah, does anyone else have questions? That's a good question, Stills. Because, yeah, Lindell's there. Lindell likes to ask questions. He found a way to ask that in a way that people will answer. He used to go, "What's your top whatever?" And then people would freeze. And I had to be like, "Bro, I can't be asking this question. It keeps messing up the flow of like the." So he's practiced the way he asks the questions to make sure it works nice. And I like the way you did that, Linda. That was good delivery.
You could have maybe to end your show, you could end it always on the same like concept. I know certain shows they have a concept like just the 3 type of questions you always ask at the end.
Honestly, it's so random with that shit. Cause yo, the length of the show has been as short as 45 minutes and as long as 5 hours. And then it just,
5 hours.
I
That's it.
swear, we've gone 5 hours. Yo, we're actually planning one for New Year's Day. It's gonna be like 8, 9 hours. We want to like break the record and like This guy wants to set the record so high that nobody else can beat it. And I'm like, fine. The only day of the year you're going to pull this off is January 1st. And so we agreed. But, like, yeah, it ended up being like if the conversation's proper and everybody has all the time in the world and the energy's right and whatever, they've gone that long. But usually not everybody goes that long. The average length is 2 to 3 hours, but then it just kind of flows in. I like to, like, recap, compliment, and then it tangents, and then it goes, and then we just kind of, wrap it up with that shit when it just kind of feels natural. That's how I feel like it's more a podcast than anything else in that regard, because
Right.
it's like I know even like the Hustle podcast, they have their little jewel at the end, and a lot of people do that, but I feel like I put my gimmicky shit at the beginning with that question. Like that's like a loaded question every single time, but I'm not doing a 12 hours one right away. We'll see about that shit. 12 hours in a chair is awful. Everybody has to have a standing part of that fucking stream.
That's a long stream.
But you know what, though? Sometimes it's good marketing to say words like 12-hour extravaganza.
Yeah, you gotta try it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
But
you
yeah,
could have a lot of clouds. Even on Twitch, that's what's cool. You want to drop a cool emoji and it costs you money. So the more chances you got.
that's facts. But yeah, I think it's incredible the life that you've gone through and everything. All of your links are available down below in the description of the future videos. And in the current video, we can get the links with the. Oh, she did it! Drop the links with the fucking macro that we made for it. So it just popped up again in the chat. So appreciate you coming through. Everybody make sure to come follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, bump his stuff, and keep your eyes out for that future website, because it's going to be fucking blessed to be able to stock up your footage.
Just a tiny little preview.
Oh, say word.
5 to 5. And then you'll be able to like have the whole wave, and you could just like dive straight into it and play them and go through the waves.
That's cool.
So just uploading and uploading. It's filtered by mood and all your shit here, by duration, tempo. So that's what it is. That's what it is so far.
And yo, when that's out, y'all make sure to go follow that. That's fucking incredible, dude. But on that note, everybody, we are going to raid End of the Week, who are doing their big championship $5,000 prize thing, of which Basics is participating. So if they're still alive, fucking go show love there. And on that note, dude, it was wonderful to have you. I'd love to talk to you more in the future, see what's up with you. Live long.
Yeah, keep in touch, my man. Thanks for having me.
Live long, prosper, everybody.